I'm going to
All
record.
right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Extra Holes. Hello, Master PGA Professional Alex Kohler and Joe Rocha, also PGA Professional. This show, we have a fun one. We're going to talk about different things. We go in different directions, but I went to yesterday the Founders Cup tournament, the LPGA event right outside New York City, and had a great time there. It's always a fun time watching the best players in the world all come together and play. It's almost like magical when you go to a tour event. I would say, and this is the thing, I've been sort of itching to go to an LPGA event for like a few years now. I'm in the Boston area, as many of you know, and no LPGA event has come excuse me, come around here for a little while. We're working on it. People are working on it, I hear, behind the scenes. But I have been on the lookout and I looked at the schedule, and one was in New Jersey. And when I looked up the distance, it was inside of 4 hours. It was doable. So I just said, you know what? I'm going. I want to tell you that you need to go to an LPGA Tour event. I'm not the LPGA didn't tell me to say that, of course, but no, it was so much fun, and I can't say enough good things about attending the event. I would go so far as to say, if you're taking a vacation, do it around an LPGA Tour event. I mean, forget about it if you have a daughter, but even just yourself or whoever, a friend. I met Alex. I met a Hall of Fame player in Betsy King, just to give you an example, right, of the accessibility. And like we were talking, like this wouldn't really happen on the PGA. We love our PGA Tour players, but met a Hall of Fame LPGA player in Betsy King, had a chat with a top 50 instructor, Lynn Marriott, who we can talk about what we said. Met two LPGA players. We have mutual friends, you being Megan Kang's friend, and Allison Walsh, a friend of mine, is a friend of hers. So they couldn't have been nicer. I mean, they were just awesome. Allison, I caught after she hit her shot after on the 10th tee, which I was a little bit, but she was walking to grab a water, and she just was so nice. And I don't even think she was playing that well, but they were just could not have been nicer. So anyway, and you get into some conversations with people in the gallery. It's just such a fun time down there at the tournament. So I would say, if you have an opportunity, definitely go. I mean, the crowds too are so much lighter than the PGA Tour event. Even getting to the event is just kind of a breeze in comparison to the PGA Tour. And the players are the talent is incredible. It really is. It's like magical out there. It's like
I
a
think
minute.
because
Go ahead,
you
Alex.
know, the crowds are definitely smaller than the PGA Tour draws,
Yeah.
and I think they really appreciate all the fans that do come out and support them. So it is a different environment. There's not as many people watching. These girls, they're really not. They're very humble. They're very humble. They're
Yeah.
very. I feel like they feel they're very blessed to be playing golf for a living, and they appreciate all the things they have, and they don't take things for granted. And certainly, the fans, the spectators, they appreciate everyone that comes out and makes the effort. I mean, driving 4 hours, that is certainly an effort, and I applaud you for doing that.
Well,
I
thanks.
got
Yeah.
to the last event I got to was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Wait a
I
minute now.
flew,
Talk about an effort.
yeah, I flew to Malaysia to watch Megan. I was coming from
Wow.
basically Hong Kong, so it wasn't like it wasn't the longest flight, but it was still an effort.
Wow.
But because, and this is when Megan's father was still caddying for her.
Okay.
When she was a rookie, I think the first couple years, Lee was her full-time caddy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got to really hang out with them. I got to eat with the
Yeah.
players. So I'm
Wow.
sitting next to a table with Lydia Ko, next
Mm.
to Lexi. They were all there, and it just could have been. It was just that atmosphere down there is just a little different. I think they're really friendly to each other. It's not like Tiger Woods was always kind of on an island by himself, and maybe the other players sometimes felt he wasn't as approachable. But these girls, they're all, I mean, by and large, they love to hang out, and they're friendly. They're friends with each other. And,
Yeah.
if they can't win, and if their friend wins, they're just as supportive. So the whole atmosphere is just like, hey, everyone's kind of sitting with each other and talking.
It's
And
good.
it was
Driving.
really awesome.
Yeah. That's super cool. I did get a chance to meet. I played golf with Lee, Megan's dad, one time, and he did describe that. It's like a family out there. But
Yeah.
especially, even driving down there, it did dawn on me, wow, if I'm a player, being on the road, it looks glamorous watching it on TV, but it's I can imagine it's presents its difficulties, especially being a woman, traveling on your own. So yeah, they definitely stick together, I think, more on the LPGA. Lynn Marriott. Lynn Marriott was interesting. So I waited. She was speaking with a caddy on the putting green, and this just speaks again to how sort of a nice casual atmosphere it is. So I waited a little bit. And Lynn Marriott's always been interesting. Her partner Pia Nielsen, they have a company, excuse me, called Vision 54. The premise being the possibility of playing a round of golf, making 18 birdies, so 18 under. And they really made a name for themselves when they worked with Annika Sorenstam. And
Yeah.
it worked. It worked for Annika, of course, or it was complimentary, of course, with Annika's game. And that's one of the questions I asked Lynn Marriott. Was kind of a loaded question, but how much? I introduced myself. She was super, super nice. And I said, how much do you think is mental and how much is physical? I said, because I have to tell you, I'm videotaping swings, and some of the physical aspects are aspects of one player's swing are better than another's. So, and we sort of just agreed that, look, she said, golf is not a game of, there's no perfect swing. There's always going to be imperfections in the mechanics. So she stresses to the players, she works with her players how to deal in a constructive way with what happens out there when things don't go quite right, because that's just inevitable. Who was the pro? It was maybe Walter Hagen, one of those from that generation. He said, when I play golf, I always assume that I'm going to hit 7. I don't know why he picked the number 7, but he said, I'm going to hit 7 bad shots around. I just know going in. So, and she also made an interesting point that she thought the mental part of the game was more important for the higher handicap player, which I thought was an interesting point. But when I sort of put together her general attitude and the point about the mental part of the game being more important for the higher handicap player, I summed it up by what she was basically saying is, look, the higher handicap player may not have the time to make the swing change that you and I are helping them try to make. They maybe don't have the time to work on their flexibility or their strength, or even enough time to play once a week or so. So I think her main mission is to restore the fun into the game and make sure that people see the game as a game that we play and enjoy, versus, like we had Chris Miller on last week, like he described, like we don't want the game to be, especially for our amateur players who aren't in the game for a living, to think that it's filled with thoughts and what am I doing wrong? I really don't like when people ask me that. It just makes me cringe a little bit. I try to say, like, let's build on what you're doing right, and to try to get them out of that mindset. So I get more in that short conversation. I get more what she's about, and I really like the perspective she was coming from.
So two things, and I'm with you totally. When someone says, "What am I doing wrong?" I said, "No, that's not the question." And then I want,
right,
yeah, for sure. It's like let's talk about the things you're doing right. Let's build on those. Let's give you high praise for doing those well. And what can we do to improve things that maybe you're not doing so well? So I don't like. Yeah, I certainly know. I hate the phrasing. What am I doing wrong? But anyway, I would have thought that Lynn's response would have been just the opposite. Now, again, she's probably done a lot more research, certainly, than I have on the subject of, because her niche is mental coaching, correct, Joe?
Yes. Yeah. They have yeah, go ahead.
When you asked her that question, I thought she'd say, listen, the mental coaching is definitely more suited towards the high-end players. They've already got good mechanics, right? They wouldn't be on tour or close to being on tour if they had, bad swing faults, so they're already mechanically pretty sound, and the mental game kind of can get them to the finish line of, okay, now you're ready to win, or you are going to win, or, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't think she would say it would be more suited towards, high handicappers. I would think they need the structure of having a better swing to even start thinking in their brains, because is a high handicap player going to hit more bad shots or good shots in a round? Like they can't keep telling themselves, no, you're really a great player. No, you've got to try to envision the ball going in the hole for, they're trying to make a 2-putt for an 8.
I know. I think she's saying she did throw me a curveball. She did throw me a curveball.
That just doesn't make sense to me, but again, she knows more about it than I do.
I think she's trying to sort of keep people in the game, in a sense, literally and sort of figuratively on the golf course. Whether you hit a bad shot, try to. We're not going to fix. In other words, we're not going to fix a bad habit on the 6th hole. We're not going to fix a slice during that round necessarily. I
understand that.
That kind. I'm just saying what she thinks. The other thing, and there's he's in the physical therapy world, but this famous back doctor, Dr. Stuart McGill, and he's crossed over into some golf training. But he had an interesting point. His specialty was more working with people that had back conditions, of course, but then he worked with a lot of power lifters, like Olympic level power lifters. And what he said was he looked at it like Formula One. And I want to say Formula One, those companies test new innovations in their Formula One cars and then filter it down to the consumer products, that kind of sort of process. So I think back to Lynn Marriott, the cool thing working with tour players is you're almost gathering data on like you said, they already have the mechanics to be out there. They also have the mental capacity to be out there as well. So maybe working with tour players, of course, she's helping them, but she's also learning from them too. And then she's able to take what she learns and help the masses. The players, it's such an elite group of players who can play this game for a living. It's crazy. I haven't added it up, but I heard a conversation next to me. We had a tee sheet, and just the number of countries represented yesterday was amazing. I want to guess there might have been, I don't know, 15, just an enormous amount of. So you're pulling the best player from a country, and okay, you can play. So they're so elite that I'm sure, obviously, she helps them, but then she probably is able to take what she learns and help more of the average player. So
Alexa Pano, do you know? Have you heard that name, Alexa?
I have.
She's, I believe, 18,
Uh-huh.
and she's out there. She's kind of right from high school to the tour, like Megan did.
Right.
She was in that. I don't remember. It was called. It was a documentary about junior players, and
I think I remember that.
A kid from Shenzhen. There was Alexa. There was. I can't recall all the names. Kornikova.
Oh yeah, from tennis. Yeah, Anna.
Well, so it's her half brother. They share the same mother.
Oh really? Oh wow.
And so yeah, this kid, he was just racking up wins. I think he's in Florida. I don't know where he is now, but yeah. Alexa Pano is like, I remember watching, I wish I could think of the name, but she always she looked like she was destined to be on the tour eventually. She was so good at such a young age, and so she's out there now, and it'll probably take some time to get comfortable with the travel. It's not easy to go from, hey, living at your parents' house, and all of a sudden now you're booking flights and traveling and getting used to time zones, and when your sleeping patterns maybe are changing, and there's obviously probably more full-time golf where you're just practicing more than you used to, and so it probably takes a year or at least to get used to all that new stimulus, and you got media who want to talk to you now, and you got you're pulled in different directions that maybe you weren't as just a junior golfer. So
yeah,
she's probably a bit overwhelmed, but I think we'll
keep an eye out. We'll keep an eye out for her for sure.
For sure.
A couple things came up yesterday. How about now in our lessons too? This comes up as well because I teach mostly at a range. So people will ask me about course management.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to share a quick story. So Maria Fassi, now she was a phenom herself. She came out of Arkansas.
She hits it a mile.
Hits it a long way, and she hasn't really done much on the tour. So I said, I need to go watch her play. I want to see what's happening with Maria Fassi because she was like a sure bet to contend on the LPGA Tour. I would have thought. Athletic.
Did you get to see her?
I did. Yeah, I watched her play maybe 4 holes.
What were the observations?
Okay, so the first hole I saw her on, par 5. Cool golf course. Alistair McKenzie is the designer, Upper Montclair. He designed Augusta National, Cypress Point. So bunkers.
Good resume.
I know, right? Some kind of resume there. But bunkers were the main bunkers and sort of pushed up greens and sort of firm, fast greens, undulating greens. The That's why I think this week probably the scores won't be that low because sort of an old school type golf course. But anyway, Maria Fassi, so par 5, hits it in the right bunker off the tee. She lays up. So I watch her from across the fairway. She hits her shot. I really didn't see where exactly it went. And I watched a couple of the other players in her group. So I'm walking up. Her second shot, she's now playing her second shot from the rough behind a tree.
Her third shot.
No, her second shot. So she lays up. She's in the bunker. She hit it in the bunker. She hits her second shot out of the bunker in the rough behind a tree.
So it's her third shot she's going to hit.
Yes. But so I'll finish and then go back. So now she hits her third shot, low punch type shot, and hits it in another bunker, green side.
Okay.
It has about a 25, 30
down for a 5.
Has a 25, 30-yard bunker shot. I'm right behind her filming it. She holes it. Makes 4. She makes birdie. Okay, but here's my point. Now, okay, let me continue. Let me just finish the story. So a little time passes and the 2 other ladies putt out and she's walking to the next tee. Well, I'm not walking too close, but just by chance, I'm not trying to get that close, but I'm like pretty near her and they're talking, her and her caddy. And she said something to her caddy that just struck me. We almost made eye contact at the time. I was just kind of, my head like snapped. I was like, I almost said something, but I did not. She said words to the effect, they were just talking, and she said words to the effect, well, it doesn't really matter how you do it. It's just the number on the card. I'd almost fired my caddy right on the spot. I'd asked me to carry the bag. I mean, think about that. Like, my point is...
The caddy said that to her?
No, she said that to the caddy, but that's, to me, being a little overcoached mentally. I mean, you made... Okay, we can live with the shot off the tee. We're all, like Walter Hagen said, we're all going to miss 7 shots around. Say that's one of them. She missed it. She's in the... When people ask me now... because sometimes I'm at a little bit of a loss. Okay, course management, well, this or that. Look, when you're in trouble, don't hit the next shot into don't get into trouble again. Get out of trouble. Like, just hit that second shot into the fairway. Don't put your second shot. Don't put yourself behind a tree on your third shot. It's a par 5. You're taking a situation that was not great, being in the bunker, and making it worse by being behind a tree. And how often are you going to get that up and down out of that bunker? You're not going to hold. That's a 1 out of a 250 shot. I mean, it was a tough bunker shot. Oh my God, 1 out of 5. You're not going to hold that, right? And you're probably not going to get it up and down 6 out of 10 times. So she cost herself. That was the first hole I saw her play. So anyway, course management. I say, when you're in trouble, rule number 1, get yourself out of trouble. What do you think, Alex? Do you agree? What's your... I mean, she hits it long. She's a long ball hitter, and I'm
going to have to agree with that, Joe. Yeah.
Pretty simple. What else did I see? I was pretty focused on taping, so I wasn't necessarily watching, as far as the playing went. But she's having a pretty good tournament, so hopefully she can put it together. One thing, a little insider thing, is what I was kind of observing was, if you think of the pelvis of the body and you think of then the rib cage.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you're just standing up straight, you're aligned. Generally when we're walking, we're aligned. It was just interesting to observe. It seemed to me like her rib cage was getting in the backswing a little tilted too much out of line with her pelvis as she went back, not to get too technical, but it just something to keep in mind as far as if we did mention one technical thing from yesterday is just that relationship of pelvis to rib cage is an important one, and not to get either too far out of a line from the other, is what I'd say, either on the backswing, as far as we see a lot of players sort of slide maybe the hips back. But yeah, it looked like she got a little tilted. That would be the only thing. And now she's in a little compromised position there starting down. And then, of course, you have injury potential, too, with as many balls as they're hitting. It is all the speed. And you know what? I think she might have been injured for a time. I want to say, I'm guessing now, but that might have contributed to her sort of lack of being in contention.
Well, let's throw this out there, just so
Sure.
it's on record.
Yeah.
Maria, I'm quite, I don't know. Maybe we can get Joe to confirm this on tape. If she were to give you a call, Joe, are you comping the lessons for her? Are you going to do it pro bono, help her out a little bit, or are you going to whack her? I mean, I think you should do it for free. But what do you think? Would you
You know what I would do with tour players?
Well,
I would say, when you win, pay me. And we'd work out a percentage. I'd be all about wins. I want them. I don't. Maybe you work out a top. I want them performing at it. I want them contending. I'm not. This is not to post a. This is not to make a Facebook post for me. This is for them to get over the hump, basically. I can't have, like, I tell some real quick. This is what I'll tell, like, athletes that come to, like, for lessons, like ex-athletes, say like a Chris Miller. I say, we can't have you not playing well. You know what I mean? The athlete, like, you're too good an athlete. Like, we can't fail you. And that's kind of the attitude I'd have with, like, a Maria Fassi. I'd say we cannot, like, the instruction world, the coaching world cannot fail someone like you. You're too good to not be contending. So I'd do whatever I had to do to get her in contention, and then we'd figure out payment after that.
Now, would you go right to, because every shot is on Shot Link, or I don't know if it's Shot Link, but every stat imaginable is tracked.
Yeah.
Would you go right to the stats, figure out, okay, she hit 67% of the fairways. She's hitting, this percentage of the greens, from 100 yards, her proximity is 18 feet. Would you have all the stats and then figure out mathematically, okay, we got to attack this first. So we got to, forget the driver. You actually hit enough fairways. From 100 yards, you are way below where you should be. Would you attack it mathematically to figure out where her weaknesses are? Or would you just kind of give her a deep interview, you know what I'm saying, and just kind of get out of her what she wants to maybe work on? What do you think, Joe?
If we're talking particularly about, yes, I would say for sure. And then, in light of what I overheard her say, I think, yes, I would be taking a deep dive into stats, I think, as one aspect of the plan. And I think, as if you're talking about hypothetical, I like your hypothetical, working with elite players, because I think, too, what's cool, I mentioned earlier, is working with elite players. We can filter down what we learn from these elite players and help our day-to-day amateurs even more so, right? But I think if we were ever asked to help out a tour player, I think we would have, be best to leave our ego aside, and I would build a team around me. I mean, I would not sort of go it alone. I mean, I would be looking at stats, I would be looking at TrackMan. I would probably consult my good friend Michael Jacobs, who's been a mentor to me, who does a lot of cutting edge analysis with the club, the body, the 3D. I'd recommend they go directly to see him. I mean, I'd be in the room with them. It's kind of like when a student wants to get fit for clubs. I have a good friend in a facility nearby they're great at fitting. We don't even have an arrangement really. It's just, I like the place. I like them. And I know he's really good at it. He has all the clubs right there, the shed, the launch monitor. And I don't have that. I'm more just, teaching the swing and stuff. So, and I whenever I can, I meet them there. So we all sort of collaborate. So I think collaborating would be important at that level to kind of build that good team around them. What do you think? Does that sound good? Would you do anything in particular if Maria called you up?
I would do a deep dive into her stats.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I would do. I wouldn't ask her, hey, do you know what I would just find out the numbers. I would want to know where her real weaknesses are, where she's, if she's, out of 100 tour pros, if she ranks 92nd in putting, I'm going to say, listen, we can deal with your swing a little bit when we need to, but you're losing shots on the putting green. You need to be better there. That's where we're going to start. And, numbers don't lie. I don't think she could argue that. She'd be like, wow, maybe I didn't realize I was so low compared to the other girls in putting. Maybe I didn't realize my 5-foot make percentage is not very good. So, I'm sure she does probably look at the numbers. I think they probably all look at the numbers a bit. They want to know where they're losing. But that's what I would do first. I would see where her weaknesses are, and you try to make those strengths. And then, okay, now this is your weakness. Now so you're constantly trying to, build a better, performance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Overall, you're better in all areas.
This year was the first year I for myself, and one student has signed up so far, but I'm using a stats app for my own game. It's called Draw More Circles, just to give them a plug. They're great. And so when I play, which is, infrequent, but when I do, I put it's pretty simple entry. The level that I do. You can take a deeper dive if you want, but the one I do is pretty simple. But it's been super helpful. And it highlighted, on your dashboard, it highlighted the biggest, like you said, biggest area for improving for me was driving. It's driving. And then my biggest strength is short game. So I kind of knew that, but it's good to sort of get that sort of, that point, driven home, because, in driving when I practice is something I sort of like stay away from, because I think, obviously instinctively, I know it's an area that I'm not great at. So now recently, after this year, after, working with the stats app, I have practiced my driver a little bit more. And I've even taken a page out of Freddie Couples. Here's another question people ask on the lesson tee. What club should I start with? I say, well, you can look at it like it's kind of like walk, jog, run. You can start small and work your way up. Freddie Couples, though, he used to anyway, start with his driver because he felt like it stretched him out. So anyway, even sometimes if I hit some balls, I'll even start with my driver now because that's my biggest area. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the Freddie. I'm going to get stretched out. You know what I mean? I'm going to, not care where the first few go, just kind of get stretched and then, get into it a little bit and we have a target, pretend, bring the golf course to the range a little bit, push myself a little bit to practice it more. So working on our weaknesses can be tough. And because like, I think human nature is to sort of stay away from our weaknesses, but those stats apps, they help with that because they really highlight, your areas of improvement and your strengths. I mean, if Maria Fossey's, if she has difficult from 100 yards, well, you can do the Jack Nicklaus and just play away from 100 yards, but that going in. So
knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
As long as you play to your strengths. That app, I'm gonna look into that. It's an app, correct? Is it a free app or is it a $4.99 every month app?
Here's what it is. Draw more circles. It's basically what the name alludes to. We want to draw more circles, like as in birdies.
Birdies.
Right? And Ronan Yin, I hope I'm saying that right. She won recently on the LPGA Tour. She's one of their main clients. They've been working with her. So to answer your question, I'm in the free. Here's the range, which is pretty cool. I'm in the free zone right now. So I get, absolutely. So I get some good stats, pretty general, like I said, entry, and I'm given some, they steer me toward my biggest opportunities for improvement up to, they do actual course strategy. So we've all been in the situation where we're like, okay, do I hit hybrid here? Do I hit 3-wood? Do I hit driver? So you can put in the golf course you're going to play. If you're a tournament player, or say a tournament player, you'd probably use it for, or even your home course. If you can put in the golf course, and they will chart a strategy for you based on your data. So
how long you hit your driver, things like that.
Yep, and I would have to assume they play to your strengths, right? So, well, I have a good example of that. I played a recent tournament, and I get up on this one hole, and my tee shot, my miss is left. There's water down the left side. I'm like, oh geez. So I take 3-wood, but I kind of block it. It hits a tree. It bounces back into the fairway. I have 140 left. It's a short hole, and some of the bombers, some of the kid, the college kids, they're just about driving the green. But I heard horror stories from that hole because of where the way the hole was situated and the difficulty of the green. I was back at 140, Alex. I had downwind. I hit a wedge, which is kind of a big wedge for me. And I hit the front edge of the green. It rolled 6 feet. I made birdie. Meanwhile, the guys are bombing it green side, but now they've got an impossible second shot. So course management is when you're talking about putting a score together, course management is a big deal. I don't really want to when people ask me, I sort of brush it off a little bit, but it's big. And the stats, I think it's like TrackMan. It's available. Do we love it? Maybe are being the purists at heart, I think, like we are, but every now and then, get on TrackMan, or every now and then, and I would definitely recommend the Stats app. And I was like, when I recommended it to people, they've been, no, I know my strengths and weaknesses, but you made a great point. No, you might not, so take advantage of it. Do you want to segue to one other thing that impressed me yesterday?
Or
go ahead.
hold
Yeah.
that thought.
I've got it.
Don't
I've got
forget
it.
that. Write it down if you need to, Joe.
No, I've got it.
I want to bring it. Years ago, a friend of mine, Brad Adamonis, he's still playing. You know, he was. You and I know Brad because you know we're New Englanders. He was 1 year ahead of me in high school, so we were teammates and friends. And you know, he played on the PGA Tour a couple seasons. He has a Corn Ferry Tour victory, and but he actually Monday qualified for one of the Champions Tour events just maybe a month ago. So he's still working at his game and trying to get better. He actually just recently took a lesson from Jim McLean. He drove down I think it's 6 hours from where he lives down to Miami to visit Jim. He had worked with Jim before, so they have a working relationship, and he wanted Jim's eyes, and you know, so recently he's taken a couple lessons from Jim, and it was helpful. Brad actually just qualified for the upcoming Senior U.S. Open.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
So it was himself, I think, and Patrick Sheehan were the two guys. Patrick shot 67, and he was medalist. Brad was 68, tied with another guy. I don't know his name. And then they had like a two for one spot. They had a playoff, and Brad won on the first hole. So, but years ago, Brad was inputting his info. Back then, we didn't have apps. It was like a program with a disc on a computer. And his friend he knew the guy who was kind of who designed the program. He was charting that stuff out years and years ago. So I know. Now we can do it on the phone, right, Joe, with an app, so it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's been around for a while. If people really want to, you know, it's I think it is very helpful. Just takes time to input all the stuff. But I know it helped Brad, you know, figure out what his kind of strengths are, weaknesses are, things like that. So
yeah, well, because you can sort of, like, we know there's so many different factors in golf, you know, and sometimes if you don't play well, I know myself, it can just seem like a whole like clouded, I don't want to use the word disaster, but you know, the game can take us there, right? Where you feel defeated, but you know, at points in all of our golf careers, you know. So with the stats, it's kind of nice because it takes you a little bit out of that. And whether you're playing well or not, you're gaining, like you said, you're gaining knowledge about yourself. You're learning more about yourself, which is maybe at some level, that's what this is all about. You know, our podcast or playing golf or teaching golf, you know, we just want to learn more about ourselves and, you know, have more fun and, you know, play a little better in the process.
So we're the ultimate lifelong students. We are.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know, we're teachers, but because we're teachers, we need to always be lifelong students. We need to continue to learn, take in information so we can give back to the students to become better teachers over the years. You know, you're not going to do that just by saying I know everything and I don't need to listen to anybody. So I think it's really cool that we both share that. Still, for sure. I mean, we talk all the time. Obviously, we're not just chatting on camera. We talk all the time. And your thirst for knowledge is, you know, it's top notch. You're always wanting to better yourself, and you're a humble guy. You know so much, but you want to talk to that Lynn Marriott. You want to pick her brain. You want to talk to all these people. And you know, again, we already mentioned it. You know, we just took a rules seminar together.
Yeah.
You know, we may not actually ever be rules officials. I don't know if I'll ever make it that far. You scored higher on the test
No, I didn't
than
take the
I
test.
did.
Well, I took it I took it a long time ago, but
You've taken it
yeah,
before. You
that's a
definitely
hard,
did better than I did. So
yeah.
the fact that we were in that room together and we said, "Hey, we want to know more about the rules of golf,"
Yeah,
that
sure.
has nothing to do really with trying to fix someone's excessive curve. But you and I both kind of share that desire to learn. I think that's probably why we have a show together and why we're
Yeah.
so, connected, talking all the time, because we share that. And
Yeah.
so I
Thank you. Yeah. No,
your
I
your
know.
your students are very lucky to have you.
Thank you, Alex. Right back at you on that. I think we're in the same boat there.
So
And
do you
then
remember your point?
one thing I do. And
Good.
then one thing leads to another. And isn't it an amazing game that it provides us this opportunity, this like continuous learning opportunity? It's incredible. Okay. My final point from the LPGA.
Okay.
I
Then
just
we'll wrap the show up.
I love tour events. In fact, when I did my PGA interview, I don't know why that this nice lady interviewed me, a PGA member. She was from Reno, Nevada, and she stopped the interview and she said, you're fine. Like we did a mock head pro interview, and she said, you know what, I couldn't really get into it because it was fake. So she's like, I get it, I get it. You know what, you'll be fine. She said, you know what, I could see you working for the PGA Tour. I don't know, she said that a long time ago. So anyway, but I do love the tour events. They just
Yeah.
there's just something about those, being around that environment, and you just made me think of it. Just we're lucky to be in a game that just there's so many great people, and it is such a humbling game. We're all kind of in it together, and the respect everyone has for one another, and you could just go on and on. It's just incredible. Okay, but my last point. And I want I'm going to just say what happened, and then I want to hear what you have to say because I don't have a great answer for this.
Okay.
So, another great thing that happened, excuse me, I like a woman player by the name of Lim Kim. Lim Kim won the U.S. Open a few years back. I think it was 2019 down in Houston. And it was a cold. I remember it was sort of a cold week they had down there, and she birdied, I think, the last 4 holes to win the event by one.
Do you have any quick background on her? Where she went to college? Where's she from? Any idea, Joe?
From Korea, didn't come to the U.S. for college. She won in her first, I think it was her first start on the LPGA Tour, and she
Yeah,
won
she's
the
from
U.S.
Korea,
Open.
but she did win. She didn't study in the U.S. at any college you know of.
Correct. No, she played the Korean LPGA Tour, and then
Okay.
she qualified, came over here, and won in her first event. And
Amazing.
I know. And so with rewind on the TV, it's cool because if a swing catches your eye, you can rewind it, grab your phone, and tape it.
I've done it many times, Joe.
If anyone's listening and that hasn't like dawned on them, it just dawned on me from another story, but I won't go there. But a student of mine actually kind of like clued me in. But yeah, so that was so Lim Kim, when she was coming down the stretch, I'm like, you know what, something about this swing. I really like the swing. So I've kind of loosely followed her over the years, and I saw on the tee sheet yesterday, I said, I've got to go watch Lim Kim. But she was on the other 9 that Megan was on. So I wanted to follow Megan for a little bit. And I said, before I left, I got to go over. So the 6th hole was next to the 14th hole. I'm like, here's my chance. So I cut over to the back 9, and Lim Kim, she's the second group from the one I was on the tee. So perfect. And just another story from how great of a day being at the LPGA event was. Long story short, I got to talking with her trainer. There was so few people in the gallery. I just I was videotaping some swings of hers, and And then I noticed there were a couple people cheering for her that looked like family. So it ended up being this particular person ended up being her trainer. So it turned out I walked with her trainer the last 4 holes, and we had some great, really, it's topic for another show. We had some really cool conversation because I was taping and I was kind of sharing. He seemed kind of open, and I took the opportunity, kind of shared a couple things. And she has a little rehearsal move. I was kind of asking him about that. He was very open. We're connected now on Instagram. It's unbelievable, but that's not even my story. So we're walking along, and I'm like, now I'm into this because we're all rooting for Alim Kim, and she's 3 over, and the cuts. There's some scoreboards out there, and we all know the cuts 1 over. She's playing with a woman, and you see some of the ladies out there. It's kind of too bad. They're like, but they're not going to make the cut second day. They're +8. They got 6 holes to play. They might not, make the cut. So it's like, I'm kind of watching them too. Like, what's their attitude? Are they kind of, you don't just walk in because you're not going to make the cut. They're ultimate professionals. I mean, you wouldn't know, maybe 1 or 2 times you could tell, but overall, everyone was so professional, the ladies. But here's my point. So Alim is 3 over. She's got 4 or 5 holes to play. Makes birdie. 2 over. She's 1 away from the cut. Next hole, makes bogey. She's back to 3. Plays another couple holes pretty well, and she pars them both. And 17, par 3, hits it about 20 feet, drains it. 2 over. She needs 1 more. And I'm just walking along. I'm like, okay, it's for as great a golf course as it is, it's a little bit disappointing 18th hole. It's short. It's like 340. So the ladies are kind of laying up to a wedge yardage, which advantage her for, this fact she needed birdie. And she hits it. Couldn't really tell because the greens were firm. So it looked like a good shot, but it hit and ran past 20 feet. She's last to putt. Drains it. It's not like you're going wild, but it's like, wow, it's really like exciting. Like, oh my, she pretty much knew what she had to do and did it. And then again, just how incredible the day was. As I'm walking out, I say, congrats, and that's awesome. Enjoy the weekend and stuff to her sort of team. I leave, and then as I'm leaving, I see Megan Kang. She was talking to some kids, but then they were finishing up. So just because we had met earlier, I said, Megan, how'd you do today? She said, I eagled my last hole. And as we said earlier, she didn't need the eagle to make the cut, but she was excited. She eagled it. And she's like, all right, like, I'm on to the weekend. And I'm like, all right.
Second eagle of the day, right?
Second eagle of the day. Yeah. So my point, here's my question. Sorry, it's a long way to get to a question. But I'm so impressed with players who can sort of save their best for when they need it most. It's easy to get sort of like overcome by, maybe it's golf. Like, I'm thinking basketball days, I'd be willing to take that shot. Like, give me the ball. Like, I want that shot. But in golf, what is it? What do you think?
Well, I think I do think Friday is different than Sunday.
Yeah, good point.
It just is. It just is, and when I see someone win a tournament with I forget who it was. I think it was Schwartzel. Don't quote me on this, but he won the Masters. I think he birdied the last 3 holes. Joe, am I way off here, buddy?
I think you're not off at all. I think you're absolutely right.
Like when I see someone like there is no tomorrow. This is another Rocky quote. Rocky 3, when Sly, when Rocky's kind of like he's on the beach, he's running, but he's just like not feeling it. And he says, to Apollo, hey, tomorrow, we'll get back at it tomorrow.
Ooh.
And Apollo says, there is no tomorrow.
Love it.
And I've actually used that on the golf course in my own brain. I could say, well, there is no next putt. You have this putt. That is all you have in the moment.
Oh,
you
nice.
have this one chance. So I have actually said to myself, there is no tomorrow. Do everything you can do to make this go into the hole. And I've actually gotten some pretty decent results from that mindset. Thank you, Rocky. You are the gift that keeps giving the world. Anyway, so when I see someone just like, birdie the last hole or eagle, like to win a tournament, man, I said, that's just my dream. Not just to win, but like to do your best at the height of where you probably are the most nervous, maybe. It's the last couple holes you have a chance to win. How many times, Joe, have we seen someone kind of, give it away at the end?
Yeah.
Maybe miss a green from a wedge distance or 3-putt, and you're just like, oh man, they had it.
I know. You don't want to see that.
Thompson, forgive me, Lexi. I'm sorry. I think you're great. But, we kind of seen Lexi kind of get right there. And, she'll finish bogey to lose by a shot. And you're like, oh. And then there's another player that went birdie. And, does Lexi have what it takes physically? For sure. She's a gifted golfer, and she's one of the best in the world. What gives her those struggles at the end? You know what I'm talking. We saw her.
Sure.
I think it was a year ago. Was it at Olympic Country Club, Joe?
Yeah.
She was right.
Olympic Club. Yeah.
And she was winning until she just kind of handed the trophy to someone else.
I know.
She had a 3-footer, I think, maybe less than that, to win another tournament, Player of the Year and everything, and she missed it.
It started just not to digress.
I hate to see it. I do hate to see it.
Yeah, no, I've started it, so I'll finish it, but then come back quickly to this. I want to wrap up the point. But no, it started with a missed up. It started with a sort of a simple-ish pitch shot, but sometimes those long hitters, they don't have the. It's amazing how some of the pros can struggle with the short shots. We've seen it with her. We've seen it with Colin Morikawa. We've seen it with Victor Hovland. We've seen it with Anna Nordquist. I want to go back to your point, though, to finish it up, because I think it's really important. So what would you say? We know we don't like to see someone give it away.
No. Scott Hope. No, I don't want to see that.
Yeah. No, I know. What's the mindset? I mean, it's an opportunity. It's what you play for. There's nothing to be. Kobe Bryant, God bless him, God rest his soul. But on some Instagram posts, they have some great past interviews he did, and he talked about this, not being afraid of failure, and basically said what you said about getting in that present, mindset. So, it's what you play for, and I think probably you want to get excited about it, release those endorphins or whatever that feeling is, to get excited about that moment. But
I still hope that Scott Hope makes that putt, even though I know when they replay it, like I know what happens. I'm kind of like, come on, get in there. But his putt And another putt that's still like, I always say, you know, I hope it goes in, even though I know it's not, is Doug Sanders on the 18th
Ooh,
green. He's
yep,
at the old
Doug.
course in St. Andrews. He has the
Oh,
tournament won.
poor
He
Doug.
needs a 2.5 footer. But you know, if you look at the stroke he put on, and Scott, you know, it was almost kind of like, boy, I hope this goes in, versus, you know, I don't know. I don't think it was obviously their best strokes of the day. They were kind of wishful. You know, they made contact with the ball, but they were just kind of hoping it would go in, versus just rocky eye of the tiger stuff. If you look at Cam Smith's putting performance when he played at St. Andrews and won, like there was just no other place that ball was going than in the hole. It wasn't going anywhere else. He was so committed, and he was the ultimate kind of, you're not going anywhere else other than in the hole. You know, he made every single putt. He did not miss one on the last round. He did not miss any putts that were, you know, I mean, obviously, if he had a 20-footer, he didn't make every 20-footer, but
Right.
you know, all those other putts that, like, yeah, you could miss that. He didn't. He didn't.
He was in the zone
And
on the putting.
Rory played okay, but didn't do anything.
Didn't
Rory, I
take
think he
didn't
got.
take it. He didn't take it. He just
There
sort of,
is no tomorrow. Rory
I
thought there was
know.
a Monday finish, I think. I don't know. There was no 5th round. Rory did not take it.
No. I know. He didn't. And Cam did. He
Cam,
saw an opportunity and
Cam,
Cam.
Cam, I tell you what, I thought it was one of the coolest rounds of golf I'd seen, you know, live on TV. You know, I watched every shot. I was on the edge of my chair, and I thought it was just one of the, I would say one of the top 2 performances non-Tiger. Let's take Tiger out of the mix for a second, because we could always put Tiger in there and be like, well,
Yeah.
I get it. So that one, and Henrik Stenson beating Phil Mickelson.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody really blinked. They were just, it was a fist fight. And it was birdie on top of birdie. Well, I made birdie. I make an eagle. Nobody really flinched. It was really, I mean, I don't know. That was one of the coolest final rounds I've ever witnessed, you know, live in major championship history. What do you think, Joe?
I totally agree. No, I'm glad you brought that back up. Yeah, the way they were going back and forth, it kind of reminded us of like being, I don't know, competing with your friends or something and just kind of letting it fly. And, you know, you're not worried about anything. And you have those certain rounds where you look back and they probably didn't even know at the time, but then you add it up at the end. It's, oh my gosh, we made, you know, 9 birdies combined or something, just because you're having a great time. You're both push. I mean, it's a beautiful thing about competition too. We push each other. They pushed each other that day, and wow, what 2 great players there. Two heavyweights going at it right there.
It was
They
the
didn't disappoint.
equivalent of Ali Frazier in golf.
Yes.
It just haymakers, and just they stood toe to toe and brought it, and it was really cool to see. And that's why we love watching golf. We want to see the, you know, down the stretch. I mean, it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Oh gosh, yeah, and all the things we know that go into it, the decision making, the preparation, you know, just the love for competing, you know, all that stuff all comes together. So, what do you think, Alex? Are we going to call it a wrap? Any last words? Any parting words of wisdom for the.
I was just trying to reflect on this Masters tournament. That was that high drama? I can't even remember.
Oh my gosh!
Was that a Joe? I'm blanking out.
Oh my
Who won the
God!
Masters?
Oh gosh! It was not not Scotty Scheffler. No, he was last year. It's Oh my God!
Was it a playoff? What's
You
going
had
on?
Brooks. You had Brooks Koepka.
Oh yeah.
You had Brooks Koepka. Brooks was Rahm. Rahm. Johnny Rahm.
Sorry, John.
And you know what was incredible on Seve's anniversary? Really, was it Seve's anniversary of not his death, but it was an anniversary of Seve's.
One of his wins, maybe.
Maybe one of his wins. And would you believe, like, I swear there must be a higher power, right? So John Rahm, his first hole of the Masters, he 4-putted.
Yes, he did.
And in the interview, you know what he said? A famous Seve answer that he gave a media member.
I make.
And then goes on to win the tournament? Are you kidding me? That's stuff of dreams, right? Dreams are made of right there. Really? Right? I mean, how was, I mean, that was just amazing. So yeah, kudos to John Rahm. You were saying, was there drama? Well, there was. It was sort of a reverse drama. I think it was more drama the first 9. We were kind of expecting a Brooks Rahm, and then Brooks kind of went away. And Phil finished second, shot 65.
Another Phil reference.
Yeah,
Phil.
Right.
Phil.
And Phil finished early. Phil he posted a swing of his. I scroll through Instagram every now and then. It's kind of fun, and he posted a video of a driver swing. It looked great. I don't know what he's doing, but he's still moving it out there.
He's mean. He's on a special diet,
and he just loves it.
He's drinking like some rare poop coffee that's imported. I forget, but
I love Phil. Even like his Instagram, right? He's I just got a little cramp there. It's starting to get warm here. We got to make sure we're hydrating, and you got to make sure in your neck of the woods, El Paso, San Antonio, that you're drinking. Are you drinking? Okay, good. What was I gonna say? Phil. Oh, he's his posts are all golf, which I actually kind of like. I don't want to necessarily know about other things. You know what I mean? I just respect that. He just loves it. He's posting like a video on how to chip. He's posting his swing. It's cool.
I think Phil's been wonderful for golf. I have not thought differently of Phil, to be honest with you. If he wants to, play golf on another tour, I appreciate Phil for who he is. I think he's a super talented, super intelligent guy. He's made, I don't believe it's more than one, but he came out with an instructional video. I thought it was great. I just remember watching him. We talked about Manny Zerman not too long ago. Like, I remember, I was just like, I'm just watching him win the U.S.
The amateur.
The amateur, it's a big tournament what's the biggest tournament if you're an amateur, right? USAM. So, I remember watching it, and I thought he was just really cool guy back then. I still like his swag. I like his attitude. I like his confidence. He's great for golf. So I'm not into like, okay, well, I don't like Phil now because he's not that to me. If I like you, I like you. That's just the way I am.
I love it. You're a straight shooter, Alex.
Yeah, Joe.
What you
I
got?
thought this was a good show. I really enjoyed listening to your LPGA experience.
Awesome.
I wish you could almost go on tour with the gals and just have like we could always just report on. Maybe they're going to listen to our podcast, hire you to just be
You know what?
the man on the street
I think
on the LPGA tour.
I think the universe is sort of steering me in that direction. I think I kind of had the thought, I don't think this is like copyright legal, but I was thinking about just going live from the event.
Live.
Can you do that? Can you I don't know if you can do that with TV rights and everything. Like, I'd have to check it out, but I would that's an idea. That's an idea
I would think if you're talking while they're trying to putt, there would be some sort of conflict, but who knows?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that, but I just thought there might have been a conflict aside from that. But no, I appreciate the words and really enjoyed the chat.
Yeah,
and
man.
Hopefully everybody that listens enjoys it as well.
Until next time. Alex Kohler PGA.com. Alex at AlexKohlerPGA.com. Let me have it.
You got Joe Rocha, ROCHA golf.com. You can find me there. Look forward to hearing from everybody. Just let us know what you think. Any ideas for future topics? We're always willing to listen and want to hear from our loyal, awesome audience. So please reach out, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, Alex. Really enjoyed it, as always.
Until next time.
All right. Talk to you soon.